You wake up and check your phone. Your bank app is open, and your balance reads $5 billion, not 5,000, not 5 million, 5 billion. That number has 9 zeros, and it belongs to you. Most people will never hold $1,000 in cash at once. You now have 5 million times that. So the question isn't whether you're rich. The question is, what does $5 billion actually get you? And what does it do to you? The answers are stranger than you think. First, the reality check. $5 billion puts you on the Forbes 400 list of the richest Americans. Not at the top, but solidly inside it. For context, the median American household earns about $75,000 a year. At that rate, it would take 66,000 years to earn what you now have. Your first instinct is probably to spend. So let's start buying. A private island in the Bahamas costs around $10 to $50 million. You could buy 10 of them and barely notice. A super yacht, the kind with a helipad and a submarine, runs about $300 million. You could buy one of those too with $4.7 billion left over. A private jet, a Gulfstream G700, the gold standard, is about $75 million. Buy one. Buy 5. You still have over $4.3 billion left. Now here's where it gets interesting. You want a sports team. An NBA team costs around $3 to $4 billion on average these days. The Golden State Warriors sold for $4.3 billion in 2022. One of the most expensive ever. With $5 billion, you could just barely afford it, but then you'd have almost nothing left. An NFL team is even more expensive. The Washington Commanders sold for $6.05 billion in 2023, a record. $5 billion wouldn't get you there. But an MLB team? Most MLB franchises are valued between $1 and $2.5 billion. You could buy one, keep your yacht, your jets, your islands, and still have cash left over. The spending is almost embarrassingly easy at this scale. But spending is only the beginning of the story. Because the moment that money lands in your account, the government notices, and it wants a cut. Here's the first hard number. If this $5 billion appeared as ordinary income, say a prize or a windfall, the federal income tax rate at the top bracket is 37%. That's $1.85 billion gone before you touch it. Your state might take another 5 to 13% on top. Live in California? That's another $650 million. So realistically, you might clear $3 billion after taxes. Still life-changing. Still unimaginable, but smaller than you pictured. Now, smart billionaires don't take it as income. They park wealth in assets, stocks, real estate, private companies. Then they borrow against those assets. Loans aren't income, so the IRS can't touch them. This is how the ultra-wealthy keep most of their money. But you have $5 billion in actual cash, and cash sitting still is actually losing value. Inflation runs around 3% a year in normal times. On $5 billion, that's $150 million in purchasing power evaporating every year. So your first serious job is actually investing. A standard wealth management firm, think Vanguard, Fidelity, Goldman Sachs, will put your money in a diversified portfolio, a mix of stocks, bonds, and property. A conservative 6% annual return on $3 billion is $180 million a year. That's $493,000 every single day, while you sleep, while you eat breakfast, while you watch the game from your MLB team's owner's box. Now let's talk about what $5 billion can build. You could fund a hospital. The average large hospital costs between $1 and $2 billion to build. You could build 2. You could endow a university. Harvard's endowment, the largest in the world, is about $50 billion. Your $5 billion would be 10% of that. Enough to fund 50,000 full scholarships. Or you could go even bigger. SpaceX's first Starship launch program cost roughly $3 billion to develop. You couldn't replicate it alone, but you could fund 3 years of its launch schedule. $5 billion is not infinite, but it is country-sized. The entire GDP, all the goods and services produced, of a country like Liberia is around $4 billion a year. Your bank account is bigger than their whole economy. That means you could, technically, run a small nation. And that's when things start to get very strange. Here's what nobody tells you about having this much money. The first thing that changes isn't your lifestyle. It's the people around you. Lottery winners report it almost immediately. Old friends surface. Distant relatives appear. Financial advisors, lawyers, and accountants line up outside your door. Every one of them wants a percentage. Trust becomes the rarest thing you own. Studies on extreme wealth consistently show the same pattern. Happiness rises sharply with income up to about $100,000 a year. After that, the gains get smaller and smaller. At $5 billion, you are so far past that plateau that money almost stops being about happiness at all. What it becomes instead is power. With $5 billion, you could fund a serious presidential campaign, the most expensive Senate race in U.S. history, The 2021 Georgia runoffs cost about $500 million total. You could fund 10 of those simultaneously. You could own a media company. Vice Media sold for under $250 million in bankruptcy in 2023. You could scoop it up like a used car. You could fund scientific research. The entire annual budget of the National Cancer Institute is about $7 billion. You couldn't match it, but you could move the needle. Bill Gates has given away over $60 billion through his foundation. Your $5 billion could save millions of lives through vaccines alone. And here's the deepest twist of all. $5 billion is a lot. But it is not enough to be the richest person in the room, not if Elon Musk is there. Elon Musk's net worth has exceeded $400 billion. Jeff Bezos has topped $200 billion. At the very top of the wealth scale, $5 billion starts to feel almost modest. You would be richer than 99.99% of all humans alive. And yet you would be watching the true ultra-wealthy from a very comfortable distance. Because at this level, wealth isn't really about what you can buy. It's about what you can control. And once you feel that gravity, the island and the yacht start to feel like furniture. Expensive furniture, but furniture. So you wake up with $5 billion in your bank account. You buy the island, you buy the yacht, you buy the baseball team. And then a Tuesday arrives. A normal Tuesday. You've already bought the things that money can buy. And you realize that the things that actually fill a life, meaning purpose, friendship, the feeling that what you do matters, were never for sale. $5 billion rewrites every material equation in your life. It does not rewrite the other ones. The richest people on earth still lose sleep, still grieve, still wonder if they matter. $5 billion is a number so large it bends your imagination. It can buy almost everything the market has listed. It just can't buy the things that were never listed. And that, more than any island or any trophy or any jet, is the truest thing $5 billion reveals about being human.